Shang-Chi is the latest Marvel movie, and it tells the story of Shang-Chi, the son of the Mandarin, the man who possesses the 10 rings, and a man who's lived over 1,000 years. So this is a pretty decent movie. I'll start the review without spoilers, and I'll warn you before I get into spoilers, so don't worry. It is a fairly competent movie, as you'd expect from a Marvel movie these days. It is well shot, the cinematography is good, it is well edited, well put together. Overall, a very nice job, but nothing spectacular per se. It follows the Marvel formula very closely, but it manages to be fresh just by the Asian aesthetic it presented throughout the movie. Shang-Chi was a very charismatic protagonist. I didn't think I was going to care too much about him, but the film managed to make me care. His story is very interesting, and the way he gets his powers, at least initially, is very interesting as well, because unlike many other superheroes, he actually has to train and go through a lot of difficult processes in order to become strong. Katie, the main side character, is also very good in this movie. She's so funny. I don't know the name of the actress, but she did a great job as well. And this is first and foremost a kung fu movie. So yeah, the fights, especially in the first half of the movie, were very well choreographed, very well paced. They were just very good overall. Unlike other Marvel movies, such as the recent Black Widow, the plot of this movie made a lot of sense, and you could easily follow it and say, okay, that makes sense, that's okay. And the relationship of Shang-Chi with his father, the actual Mandarin, was also pretty interesting, and I think their rivalry per se was well established in the movie. But still, I think at the second half of the movie, the pace bogged down a little bit. The movie got a little slow, not too bad, but still, I think the first half was still better. And the final battle left a little bit to be desired, I think. It was a little bit generic, all the CGI extravaganza. The earlier fights made me care and feel much more energized. Now let's talk about spoilers a little bit. So, you've been warned. Spoilers ahead for Shang-Chi. So my favorite scene in the entire movie is the bus fight scene. It's a very normal place, mundane place to have a fight, but I think that gave a sense of realism, and it was so well choreographed. The fight was energetic. You could feel the energy, and the comic relief with that guy filming the fight was so much fun. Also, Razor Fist is very cool. I'm not gonna lie. He sounds a little bit cheesy, he looks a little bit cheesy, but the way he fought, he was very menacing, and it was just nice to watch him. Another thing the movie deserves praise for is that the characters actually spoke Chinese for a good portion of the movie, and I really don't like when Hollywood movies are actually about people from other places, countries in the world, and they only speak English. Also, the first fight of the Mandarin against who would be his future wife was very reminiscent of old kung fu movies as well. When she used her moves, she looked like Aang in the Airbenders, and the way she flew was very elegant and very Eastern-like. I really enjoyed that fight as well. And funnily enough, the comic relief in this movie was very good. It was above average considering Marvel movies. I usually never laugh watching any Marvel movies. Black Widow, for example, the latest one, I didn't laugh once in the entire movie, and there were a lot of attempts at jokes in that movie. But in this movie, I laughed out loud a couple of times. Maybe I laughed like 4 or 5 times in the whole movie, and the jokes were landing very well. Props to the actors, to the writers. It was just very well put together. The comedic timing was very good. And as I mentioned before, when the characters are only fighting fist to fist, the fights are very well choreographed and very good as well. And Ben Kingsley, oh my god, Ben Kingsley is so funny in this movie. I didn't expect him to come back. I thought they would never bring that character back, but they actually addressed that. A guy just kept the name of the Mandarin and used it as an alias when he was a terrorist in America, and that scared the Americans a lot, and they made fun of that a lot. And then when we see Ben Kingsley, which played the fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3, that was amazing, and he was so much fun in the movie. His pet, it was great. Somehow this movie just got the comedy spot on, okay? It was one of the best aspects of the movie. That and the characters. The characters were overall very endearing. I didn't care too much about Shang-Chi's sister, but she was okay. And Wong, he was not in the movie for a long time, but he was a lot of fun too whenever he appeared. Also, I think the villain, the actual Mandarin, he was a very nice villain. He was above average as well, considering all the Marvel villains. His motivations were understandable, and deep inside, he wasn't too bad of a guy. He was a conqueror in the past and all that, but he was trying to change, mostly because of his wife. And what took him to his bad decisions at the end of the movie was actually that he wanted to see his wife one more time, and that's a very understandable motivation. So he wasn't a pure evil character. He was actually very sympathetic, and the way he died actually painted him as a good character. His son and his daughter were sad to see him go, and he went in an actually heroic way, saving his son. Even though the death wasn't too emotional, it wasn't that well executed, I would say. And that's where the problems, in my opinion, lie with the movie. In the final act, I think the final battle is very generic. Even though it used a lot of that Chinese aesthetic, the army fight was nothing special after everything we've seen before. It's just a regular one army versus another fight. At least it was very easy to see who were the bad guys and who were the good guys, because they were wearing clothes. They were very different. The good army was wearing red and the bad guys were wearing black or blue. I'm not really sure, but it was very easy to distinguish between the bad and the good guys. But the final battle between the Mandarin and Shang-Chi wasn't that exciting. It was okay, but I think they used too much CG. The fights were working much better when they were just fist fights and more grounded fights. I think they work much better that way, and that's why I like the buzz scene so much. Also, the dragon at the end of the movie that appeared, the good dragon, was a real Deus Ex Machina. It only appeared because it was the only way the characters could possibly defeat the evil dragon at the end, because they would be completely outmatched without it. I mean, the good dragon just appears out of nowhere. You see a flashback with Shang-Chi's mother, and then, yeah, dragon. He's gonna save you. Go. And I don't really like that. I would prefer if the characters had found another solution for the problem, a more creative solution perhaps. My biggest problem with the movie is not really that much of a big deal. It's just more of a missed opportunity. I just think the powers of the 10 rings are very generic, just pure generic. They make you strong, and the rings, you can shoot the rings like laser beams, and the most you can do with the rings is grapple people and throw them around. But that's kind of lame, it's not very inventive. I'm not sure how they work in the comics, but it would be much cooler if each ring had a different power. Like one ring could, I don't know, control fire so you can punch with fire, another one maybe control lightning, another one just maybe a shield type ring, another one could regenerate you from wounds. That would be much more creative, and I think with different colors in each ring would make the color scheme also more pleasing than just one color. And having more powers to use would make the characters that use the rings feel more versatile and just cooler overall, It's nice to have cooler characters. And that's why the final fight between Shang-Chi and his dad wasn't that amazing, because they were just punching much harder with the CG explosions and throwing the rings around. It was nice when Shang-Chi actually managed to dominate 5 of the rings and kind of use them, levitating them around and then throwing at his father, and then at the end he just tried to use the actual Kamehameha, and they actually referenced that in the movie. They said, oh, he used Kamehameha, blah blah blah. And for a split second I thought he was gonna kill his dad, but I was like, okay, this is a Marvel movie, this is never gonna happen. But I was gonna be pleasantly surprised if that had happened. I think it would be interesting for Shang-Chi's character, having something kind of dark. He already had some darkness in his past when he killed the assassin of his mom, even though he was a clearly awful person because he just killed his mom. But still, if he had killed his dad, this would have included a gray morality in the character, and I think that's kind of lacking today in Marvel movies, especially in superheroes. In general, the final act wasn't that great. It wasn't terrible. I was entertained for the entire time. I just think it could have been better executed. And also, nitpick here, but in the very first scene of the movie, when the Mandarin was actually facing against a whole army of archers and knights, I think in the medieval times. I'm not really sure when that was or where that was because the enemies looked European, but still, he was facing an entire army alone, and the army was posted in front of the castle walls, and that makes absolutely no sense. You know, castle walls were made to facilitate the defense of the castle. They were made to fortify defenses, so the archers should actually be posted on top of the walls. It's a much better position to defend and much harder to attack. Even though they probably had no chance of beating him, staying in front of their own walls that were protecting their castle and facing the enemy head on. This is a mistake done in Hollywood all throughout movies, TV shows. I mean, Game of Thrones, they really like to put characters in front of castle walls instead of using the walls to protect the castle with artillery. So yeah, just one of my nitpicks for this movie. But it's no big deal. The CG, for the most part, was pretty decent. Some parts of the movie had pretty wonky CG, but that's okay. You don't really pay much mind to that. I really like the creatures, though. In Talo, I think it's the name of the village, the Chinese-inspired creatures are all amazing. They have even 9 tails. They have those lions. I don't know the name of those lions, but they're cool. And when Ben Kingsley sees that horse-like dragon, he just says, wow, that's a weird horse. That was so much fun as well. Ben Kingsley, man. Ben Kingsley is great. His jokes about the Planet of the Apes were hilarious. And yeah, this movie is not perfect by any means, but I think it has a lot of heart. It's unlike some other Marvel movies when they just look like a movie made in a fabric, just thrown out there out of the assembly line. This has heart, and it's a nice movie. I would definitely recommend people that like superhero movies and like Marvel movies to watch it. And if you like fighting movies, kung fu movies, you should definitely give it a try as well. I think I'll give it a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10. It was pretty decent. Kept me entertained for the entire runtime. No problems, I would say. Just could have been better here and there, but overall, solid movie. And what do you guys think? Did you like the movie? Comment down below. Let me know. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you've come this far. Thanks for watching.